this is for my 800 plus subscribers. Thank you so much, guys, for believing in me, for loving my content, and for engaging. I love you so much. And in the spirit of this celebration, I will be doing a tutorial on how to make this seashell dress. Yes, guys, I actually wanted something different for a Thanksgiving Sunday we had, and I went to Pinterest as usual, and I discovered this design. I was like, why not? Let me just try this out. And guys, believe me when I say this dress was made within 24 hours. Yes, guys, with the pattern making, the cutting, the sewing, everything. Guys, if you are determined to do something, trust me, you would do it and more than that. And this is my own version of the dress. Mine is quite different from all those designs you just finished seeing. This one is made with Ankara fabric with organdy. Organdy is the one I use for the design itself. It's quite different from organza in the aspect of texture, the feel, and the look of it. You can actually be creative with any kind of fabrics as long as your fabric has a form of structure to it, guys. You can see how beautiful it is. I made use of bell sleeves. You can see my own bell sleeves made with organdy as well. And if this is what you would like to learn, kindly stick to the end of this video. And without much further ado, let's go straight into the tutorial. So for this tutorial, I'll be making use of my full paper, that is full length. We'll be drafting the full length for the front of the front of the dress, and I went ahead to add extra paper to the bottom of my paper. And right now I just marked a starting line of 1 inch above below the edge of my paper, and I'm leaving 4 inches out of my tape measure. This 4 inches, you can do yours lower than that. This determines the lowness of your um neckline. So whatever horizontal measurement I'll be taking, I'll be removing that 4 inches away. The first line, the second line there represents the chest line, and the third line is for the chest, the shoulder to the bust line. You can see that I'm removing 4 inches away from my tape measure. Right now I'm just measuring my shoulder to my waistline, removing the same 4 inches. You can do 5 inches, 6 inches, depending on how low you want your off shoulder to be. So from that waistline, I will be marking downwards my hip line measurement there, and then I'll be rolling my line out this way. And right, I'm still going to mark the total length of my dress, removing that same 4 inches, guys, and I will be rolling it out this way. After doing that, I'm going to be adding my hemming allowance to the dress of 2 inches, and I will be marking that out this way and also roll a line for it. Then I'm going to go ahead to label all my lines. I'm labeling it: my bust line, waist line, the hip line, and the M line. So the next thing I'll be doing now is I'll be cutting away the excess of paper, the excess paper from the main length of the dress, and we have our lines drawn out already. So on my neckline there, I'll be putting my shoulder measurement divided by 2 minus 2 there, and on the chest line I'll be marking my bust measurement divided by 4. Then I'll be going downward from that chest line by ½ inch, as you see me do here, and I will be connecting that point to my neckline there. This will be the slantiest part of my curve. We'll be creating the dart for the dress, and I'm using my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, and I'm marking it on the bust line, the waistline, and the hip line. And I would be going inwards on both sides at the waistline by ½ inch on both sides to make it 1 inch, and on that line there I'll be coming down by 1 inch, and at the hip area I went up by 2 inches, and I'm just connecting the points together to create a diamond shape. So this is our dart here, and I'll be putting in my waist measurement circumference divided by 4 plus that 1 inch dart we took out. And for the hip, I'll be putting my hip circumference measurement divided by 4 there, and I'll be connecting it from that armhole there, and armhole points, and I'll be drawing a straight line, I beg your pardon, straight line towards the waist line point this way, and I'll be connecting it as well to my hip line this way, and I'm just going to smoothen out that edge there. And right now I'll be connecting hip my hip towards my M line this way, and I just went in at that M by 1 inch there to create a form of pencil silhouette for my dress this way. You can do yours straight if you choose to. So what I'm going to do now is to put in my sewing allowance for the bodies here. So you'll be using, I'm using 1.5 inch. You can use 2 inches, you can use 1 inch depending on your choice. So I'm just going to create my sewing allowance for my front pattern of a dress like this. So you can choose to create your own neckline here or just leave it straight if you choose. So I went down by 1/2 inch, and I'll be connecting it towards the shoulder point there with a slight curve, and I'll be erasing that straight line there. So I'm just going to put my allowance for the neckline there of 1/2 inch this way, as you see me do. So I'm just going to fold my paper this way because I want to replicate these lines on the other side of my paper, because I couldn't find my tracing wheel. If you have a tracing wheel, just trace out these lines and it will show on the other end. Then you'll be able to trace it out with your pencil. But because I couldn't find it, I just decided to make use of this method. So I'm just replicating all the lines, the chest line, bust line, waistline, hip line as well as a neckline. I'm just going to replicate it on the other side of my paper, and I'm using pins to, pierce the dots so that it can show on the other end, and I will be able to draw it out on the other side of my paper this way. So after that is being done, I'm going to be cutting out the pattern with my paper scissors carefully. And mind you guys, this I forgot to mention, you're going to be adding 1/2 inch sewing allowance to your shoulder measurement there. And guys, you can see that this is easy. Just follow these steps carefully, do not rush. Like I used to say, you're going to get it. It is not like a professional genge kind of style, though it looks genge, but if you follow these steps carefully, you're going to get it. And now the next thing I'm doing after doing that is just to close my dart. Yes, you need to close your dart, because if you don't close your dart, your dress is not going to come out fine. Simple as that. So I'm just going to tape in my dart. Please make sure you are closing the accurate 1 inch you took away from your waistline. You're going to be taping it this way. You can see me taping my dart carefully with my sellotape. Guys, it was a bit of a struggle, but it was quite easy. So after taping the dart, so from the original waistline, I'll be going inward by 3 inches, upwards towards the bust line by 3 inches, and also downward from the waistline towards the hip by 3 inches. Then I'll be connecting these 3 points with a curve to create a form of a semi curve like this, using the curve part of my ruler. So I'll just be smoothing out the curve this way. Then I'll be measuring the total measurement for the semi curve like this. So I'll be dividing this semi-curve into 8 places, but I'll be taking it in halves. So as you can see me do here, I'm just measuring the half of the semi-curve to get the midpoint there, and I'm marking it. Then I'll be getting the midpoint of that distance as well, then I'll be marking it there. So I'll be measuring the rest of the quarter, and I'll be getting the midpoint of it. So we have equal 4 parts. I'll be doing the same process for the other half of the semi-curve this way as well. So after doing that, I'm going to be extending the curve this way towards the same allowance of the bodies on both sides, like this. And after doing that, I'll be extending these divisions towards the bodies like this to create the panels for the dress. So after that is done, I'm just going to label the panels using my alphabet. But later I discovered that the place I just cleaned off were too far from each other. They were not giving the vibes I needed, so I just had to, adjust my lines well so that they can give me an equal look. So I'm going to be cleaning off the old lines this way. And guys, please make sure you label your panels. It is very, very crucial, very important, because the moment you separate them, you might not be able to identify which is which. So you need to label for easy joining, sewing, I mean. So before cutting out your pattern, it is time to just measure out the dimension for the shells, how you want the shells to be like on your dress. So for panel A, I just measured 7 inches height and the width of it. So I'm just going to write 7 inches there, so that when I'm about to draft each shell for each panel, I will be able to know what to measure for them. So I'm just watch how I'm just measuring it. In this stage, you need your discretion. So how you want the shell to be arranged on your dress, how you want each shell to be on your dress, on each panel. Just be creative with it here. It's not a fixed measurement. I'm just trying to um eyeball it and use my imagination. So I'm measuring the width. I'm also measuring the height of my shelves that will be on each panels. I hope you're getting my point. So I'm going to tell you one little hack I use in for my own style of shells. I made one end longer than the other end in terms of height. So if I use 7 inches for as height for panel A, when I get to panel B, I had extra 2 inches to the line to make it higher than it. So that's how I created my own shape of shells. So this is how it's going to be like at the end. And as well, for the width of the shell, for each shell, I made it quite bigger than the accurate measurement when I was cutting, so that it can have a kind of drape to it. But you can make yours exact the width of your panel if you choose to, but I'll just advise for extra beauty, just add about 2 inches or 1 inch to it to create a kind of uh drapes, or is it gathers, I'll call it. So I've cut out my pattern, and this is how it's going to look like for the front. You can see this is what we'll be using to cut our Ankara fabric as well as the organdy. So for the back side of the dress, I'm just going to take another fresh paper which I've added extra length to it, and I have drafted out my zipper allowance here. And right now I just mark the neckline, leaving 4 inches away there, and from that 4 inches I mark down my waistline. I'm marking my chest line, and from the waistline there I'm marking my hip line this way, and I'm going to rule it with a line. And I am now going to put my neck shoulder measurement divided by 2 minus 2 inches plus half inch for seam allowance. Then I'm just trying to put in my darts just like the way we did for the front pattern here, and I'll be ruling it out this way. We don't need the bust line here because it's at the we're drafting the back measurement, so you just need your chest line, and I'm using 1/2 inch on both sides for the dart. And right now I just went downward on that line from the chest by 1 inches and 2 inches above from the hip line. I'll be connecting it like this to create the diamond shape for our dart. And right now I'm just trying to impute my bust measurement divided by 4 on the chest line there, and I came down by 1/2 inch. But guys, this 1/2 inch is not compulsory. I just use it for an ease, to create an ease, but I ended up regretting using it because it became too, slouchy at my armpit. So I will advise you not to use the 1/2 inch. But if you still want to, you feel maybe your off shoulders are armhole is always tight, you can just use it. So I've put in my waist circumference measurement and my hip circumference measurement, and I've joined them together to create the body shape. So I'm going to put my hip measurement on my M line minus 1 inch, and I'll be connecting it to my M line this way to create my pencil silhouette for my dress like this. So I'm just going to connect it like this with my ruler, and at the waistline I'll be going in by 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to extend that hip line there and add back that 1 inch I took from my hip measurement, and I'll be contouring the zipper part this way by connecting it to my chest line and also to the butt contour part. You can skip this stage, it's optional, it's not compulsory. And right now I will be connecting it 8 inches downwards this way with the slanted part of my ruler to create the illusion of a butt. And I'm just going to add my 2 inches zipper allowance to that end this way. All the way down you add 2 inches like this. So I'm now going to add my sewing allowance to the other end like this. So this part is optional. I mean the butt contour part. If you do not want, you just skip it. There is no need to deduct 1 inch from your hip and adding it to your butt contour. It's very optional. So I'm just going to um, tape in my darts in this way. I'm just smoothing out the armhole side, and I am going to be cutting it out. So I didn't shaping the neckline of my back because I thought there was no need for it. And guys, do not forget to put sewing allowance at the armhole as well as the neckline there. So yeah, I'm just trying to confirm the length of the dress again, plus my 2-inch allowance, 2 inches allowance. And guys, we are done with the back of it. So for the sewing, these are the materials needed. The organdy, I got that in about 2 yards. Then my fabric is 2 yards, no, 2.5 yard as well. So I have placed my pattern on my fabric, and I'm just here, you can see me trying to arrange it properly so that while I'm cutting it, I'm going to be cutting the half-inch stitching allowance to it, and I'm going to pin it. Guys, you need a lot of pins for this project because you do not want your patterns to be moving, um, you know, moving here and there when you are cutting. So you need to pin it properly, very well. So after doing that, I'm going to be cutting each pattern out with half-inch sewing allowance. You need this allowance so that when you are about joining them together, you will not run short in fabric, like everything will become balanced and accurate. And when you are sewing, please make sure you are taking exactly the allowance you gave when you were cutting. If it's half-inch, if it's quarter-inch, make sure you are sewing exactly half-inch, and make sure you are sewing exactly quarter-inch. So here I am putting allowances on every side of my pattern. The sides, the bottom, the top part, every side will have equal allowance. So here I am making sure that I have adequate allowance while I'm cutting out. And if you're a beginner, you cannot avoid your accurate allowance, I would advise you to chalk your um, allowance all round first before cutting. So for the organdy part, I am just going to place the pattern like this on my organdy fabric, and I will be using the Ankara um, pattern to cut it out this way for the organdy. So this is it, you can see. And right now, you remember I'll be using the organdy as the seashells for the panels. So here I am just trying to figure it out if I should cut directly on my fabric, but later I opted for my pattern paper in order to reduce waste of fabric. So I'm just measuring the base of my seashell and the height of it for each end like this, and that is what I'll be using in drafting my pattern. So just watch me carefully. I'm putting the base of my pattern measurements. So I'm just going to trace the bottom part this way. So after tracing the bottom part out, I'll be putting the height at which I measured there, and I'll be connecting it to the base this way. It's as simple as that. And you can see me here extending it because I told you that I wanted it to have a kind of drape to it. So I will be extending it out this way like a fan. So here I am just confirming, and I wanted it a little bit bigger. So it depends on your choice. If you want it to drape to be big, if you want your shells to be big, you can expand it as much as you want and as much as you have your fabric. So I'm just going to curve the ends this way. I'm going to curve it out this way like a fan, so you can see how easy it is to create. So I'm just labeling that as my panel A, just as I labeled it on the front pattern. So when I'm cutting it on my organdy, I will know this one is for panel A. So you can see if I place it on top of my panel, is going to bring out that shape for me. But this is the armhole shape, so I have to, cut it out in a way that it will fix right into my armhole. So here I am just trying to like shaping it out according to the armhole shape there, you can see. So I'll be cutting that place off. And guys, you'll be needing 2 pieces of each shell, 2 pieces, one as the main fabric and the other for the lining. So you'll be using the lining in turning the main fabric out. Guys, I actually wanted to buy what's it called, us air, this crinoline, but later I had a change of mind. I don't know why, but I would still advise, if you want an exaggerated seashells on your dress, you can make use of crinoline as well, depending on the fabric you're using though. So crinoline will make that fan effect to be pronounced on your dress. So this is for panel A, this is for panel B. I'll be showing you how I did for panel B as well. It's just the same as I did for my panel A. So here I am comparing the height of it. So I'm just going to mark the base of it this way, and I'm measuring the height. I already had a measurement. I'll be putting it there as a straight line, and also for the other end, the other measurement I chose, I'll be putting it there as a straight line. I'm sorry, my paper was not sufficient, so I'll be repeating it again. So I'm putting the measurements for both ends that I put on my panel. So I'll be putting it here, marking it there, and the other end I'll be marking it there. So right now I'm just expanding them by 2 inches, and I'll be connecting it to the base like this, just like the way you can draw your fan. So I'm just going to connect it with my curve this way, and that is my B. So that is all about all, guys, you can see. And I'll be cutting it out. So I'll be doing this step for each panel. I think I have A to G, so I'll be continuing that off camera and get back to you soon. So after doing that, I went ahead to cut out 2 pieces for each of my shell, and I'll be turning it around the edge alone. So if you have your horsehair or crinoline, this is the right time and the place to put it in, but if you don't, no problem. So right now I have turned the top of it, and I just stitch it down on the side so that it will not be moving about, and I'll be placing it on my panel A. I'll be using shell A for panel A. As you can see me here using my pins to hold it in place this way carefully as well. So you can see what I'm talking about, that my shell is wider than the panel, so that it's going to have this kind of drapey effect on it. So I'll be placing it like this, I'll be pinning it this way. To the panel, and I'll be stitching it down on the sides. So I'll be doing this for all panels. I'll be putting their shells on top of themselves, one after the other. So if you've come this far in this tutorial, it means you're having a good time. So do not forget to give me a like, and do not forget to share to your friends. And as you're liking, you're actually telling YouTube algorithm that this video is actually useful for others. So right now I'm just going to place my organdy on that C-cut there, and I'm going to stitch it down, and I'm going to be sewing each panel together like this, right side facing right side, to create the front pattern of our dress. You know, it's now in pieces, so when we join it together, it's going to form a whole front dress, like front pattern of for our dress. So I will be stitching it together. So after joining the dress together, this is how it looks like. You can see that our shells are still, they are already beautiful, giving the illusion of like a flower. So I am going to be joining the side of the dress, that is the C-cuts we made for the dress. I'll be joining it to the side of the dress by pinning it in place before stitching it out. And guys, by this time I'd already cut out lining for our dress. You need to line in your dress. So for the sleeve of the dress, I have rolled out my starting line, and from there I'm marking out my sleeve length minus the height of my bells plus 1 inch for sewing allowance. And from there I'll be marking my cap sleeve, my cap height, which is gotten from dividing my bust by 12 plus 1 inch for sewing allowance. I'll be marking it this way. And now I'm measuring my neckline of my dress, which I'll be using for drafting out my sleeve width, by taking it away from my round shoulder measurement divided by 4 plus sewing allowance of ½ inch. So right now I just added allowance to my round arm measurement, and I'm measuring my wrist. That wrist measurement will be divided by 2, and I'll be adding my sewing allowance. Then I will be connecting it with a slant line towards my round arm measurement, and I'll be using the slanted part of my curve to connect it to my sleeve width. I just remembered that I didn't add in my ½ inch for sewing allowance on my sleeve width, so I just did that, and I'm erasing the initial curve of it. Then I'll be cutting it out this way. So this pattern will be used to cut out these 2 sleeves on fold for our dress, and I'll also be cutting out the lining as well for these sleeves. Guys, so you remember the ½ inch we used when we're drafting the armhole of our dress that I said is optional? It's also optional here as well. You can decide if you use the ½ inch for your dress, it's compulsory you use it for your sleeve, but if you don't, there is no need for that. So I've gone ahead to use my lining to turn the top and the sides of our sleeves, leaving the bottom part and the armhole exposed. Now I'm measuring the bottom part in order to be able to draft the bells of our sleeve. So this is my organdy, and see the way I fold it. After folding that, I will be dividing that measurement I measured on the bottom of my sleeve by 6.28 inches, because we're about to draft a full circle measurement. But if you want a half circle, then you should just divide it by 3.14 inches. So after pinning my organdy in place, I'm sorry the camera didn't capture this aspect, I will be putting in that division that I made or at the top corner of my the organdy, the square. I'm just going to cut it out this way. So I'm cutting out that measurement, and the height, I use the height of about 5 inches for my, including my seam allowance, 5 inches for the height of my sleeve, and I am going to cut 4 pieces of that. So after cutting out 4 pieces, I'm going to be opening them up this way, layering 2 on 1 on each one, and I'll be opening it up on one side this way. I'll be opening it up this way. Then after opening it up, you can see the beautiful circle flounce is giving me. So I'm going to take it to my machine to sew round the curve, the bottom curve all round to turn it in. That is, I'm using one as a lining, the other one as the main fabric. So after doing it, I'm going to be notching it this way. Then I'm going to top stitch it and give it a good press in order to make it nice looking. So I'm going to top stitch it all round, and I'm going to give it a good press. So after doing that, you can see my flounce is well laid. I will be sewing it to the wrist of my sleeve, and here I'll be marking it in my round arm measurements divided by 2. I'll be marking it my wrist as well divided by 2, and I'll be connecting it this way, and I will be connecting it towards the bell sleeve this way as well. And I've already gone ahead to turn out the front and also the back of the lining. As you can see here I am just shaping the dress out. It was already dark, so I was just trying to be fast about it so that I can be able to sleep on time and wake up early the next day for church. So I had already marked out my bust line, my waistline, and my hip line. I'm just going to put my bust measurement divided by 2 on that bust line there, and I didn't make use of too much allowance. That is why the allowance that is left is not much. And for the waist as well, I'll be putting my waist allowance divided by 2 on the waistline there, and I'll be putting my hip allowance divided by 2 there, and I'll be connecting it together this way. And guys, do not also forget, when you are sewing, also be ironing. Iron well, iron your garment properly. So there's the back side of my dress. I've already turned it as well with my lining, and I've ironed in my zip allowance there. I will just be putting my zip there, but that's the length for my slit. So I'll be marking my zip, putting my zip there. You can see my zip. I'm just measuring where I want it to reach, and I'll be sewing. And after that, I am here, you can see me here just making sure that my armhole for the dress is corresponding with what I have on my sleeve. And after doing that, I'm just going to place my sleeve this way, aligning the joinings at both armholes like this using my pins, and I will be pinning them carefully together this way from one end down to the other end of my dress carefully. It's as simple as that. And after doing that, I am going to be running a stitch of my sewing allowance from this end down to the other end, and I'll be doing that for the second sleeve, and that is all. Can you see how beautiful my sleeve came out to be? Can you see how gorgeous? Guys, I was happy. You needed to see the way I danced so elegantly in this dress on Sunday with my swollen eyes. All right guys, thank you. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. See you on my next one. Do not forget to like, do not forget to subscribe, do not forget to comment, and do not forget to share to your friends and your sewing groups, your sewing partners. Bye.